Hey guys, we are back with a classic elf ball travel for you today with a new commander, High Perfect Morcant. But first, guys, we've got our Discord, and right now, no membership or anything needed. I'm going to put the link in the comment section there for everybody to join for free. So come on into Wave Riders EDH, hop in on there. We're going to get Games Spell Table going. It's going to be great. Join the community. Let's get back to the commander, High Perfect Morcant. 2 and a Golgari for a 4/4 legendary creature, Elf Noble. Whenever High Perfect Morcant or another elf you control enters, each opponent blights 1. It's a new keyword from Lorne Eclipse. Sure, you've seen it. Each opponent will put a -1/-1 counter on a creature they control. They will choose the creature. They put on the -1/-1 counters. And notably, this is whenever any elf, so token, or any other elf, non-token, enters, it triggers. Tap 3 untap elves you control. Proliferate. Activate only as a sorcery. Womp, womp, womp. I wish it was at instant speed, but unfortunately it's not. So, High Perfect Morcant is already making the scene as the new hotness for the Golgari elf tribal kind of deal. We've got Lathril in here, of course. Want to be making as many elf tokens with the classic elf ball. It's basically a Lathril list with some neg1 stuff thrown in there for more synergy. We're going to be wiping our opponent's creatures off the board, casting lots of elves, making lots of tokens, and getting into all kind of targetable trouble. People are going to not like you. So we got some other combos in the deck that don't focus on having High Perfect Morcant out, so we can close out that game. Let's get into it. Alright, and for our 35 creatures, yes, I said 35, we have Allosaurus Shepherd, Elvish Champion, and Paradise Druid. Allosaurus Shepherd, 1 green for a 1/1 elf shaman. This spell can't be countered. Green spells you control can't be countered. 4 and 2 green until in a turn, each elf creature you control has base power and toughness 5/5. It becomes a dinosaur into addition to its other creature types. Obviously, this is, we have this in here to keep our stuff from, being countered, and then it has a, a plus that we can make stuff 5/5s on top of all the other buffs that elves will be getting from other elf creatures, such as Elvish Champion, 1 and 2 green for a 2/2 elf creature. Other elf creatures get +1/+1 and have Forest Walk. This is really good because we have Yavimaya in here as well, just on the off chance somebody is not playing forests. Lastly, we have Paradise Druid, 1 and a green for a 2/1 creature elf druid. Paradise Druid has hexproof as long as it's untapped. Tap, add 1 mana of any color. Just one of our many dorks. Up next, we have Circle of Dreams Druid, Generous Patron, and Draga Warcaller. Circle of Dreams Druid, 3 green for a 2/1 elf druid. Tap, add a green for each creature you control. Very good dork. Generous Patron, 2 and a green for a 1/4 creature elf advisor. When Generous Patron enters the battlefield, support 2. What we're really here for is this. Whenever you put 1 or more counters on a creature you don't control, draw a card. Now, this does not trigger off of the blight because the opponents put the counter on. However, once they put that counter on and then we proliferate, we draw a card for each of their creatures that we put a counter on, which is at least 3. Great, unless any of them have died. And next up, we have Draga Warcaller, 1 green for a 1/1 with multi-kicker, 1 and a green. You may pay an additional 1 and a green any number of times you cast the spell. Draga Warcaller enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it for each time it was kicked. Other elf creatures you control get +1/+1 for each +1/+1 counter on Draga Warcaller. We have a lot of dorks in here, a lot of big mana turns. So this is one of our, big plop. All of our stuff is now, 15/15s. Up next, we have Well-Wisher, Elvish Mystic, and Elves of Deep Shadow. Well-Wisher, 1 to green for a 1/1 elf. Tap, you gain 1 life for each elf on the battlefield. This will see everybody else's elves if anybody happens to have them, but we're going to have a lot of elves and, some stuff that, untap and stuff that makes our elves automatically untap. It's going to be great be able to keep a high life total while we're waiting to explode elves onto the board. Elvish Mystic, 1 green for a 1/1 tap, add a green, dork. Elves of Deep Shadow, 1 green for a 1/1 tap, add black, deals 1 damage to us. Get the black in there as well, just another dork. Up next, we have Azuri Renegade Leader, Masker Girl, Known Killer, and Devoted Druid. Azuri Renegade Leader, 1 and 2 green for a 2/2 elf warrior. Pay a green, regenerate another target elf, which I could hit him with it too, but it's nice to be able to save our elves. 2 and 3 green, elf creatures you control get +3/+3 and gain trample until end of turn. This is beautiful. It's a great elf. We love him. Hitting him off of Kindred Summons, which is what won me a game recently during a playtest with this deck. I always playtest these decks before I put them on here for you. Make sure they run, hum, and tick the way that they're supposed to. But our big mana turns with all of our elf dorks just pump a bunch of mana into this guy, on top of responses to blow him up and everything else like that. Make our board huge and overrun. Masker Girl, Known Killer, 2 and 2 black for a 4/4 human assassin menace. Creatures you control have Wither, which means they will deal damage 2 creatures in the form of -1/-1 counters. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, if its toughness was less than 1, draw a card. So we're going to be pumping a bunch of elves out. Our commander's going to be giving out them -1/-1 counters left and right. And when she does, we will be drawing cards when those creatures die. Devoted Druid, 1 and a green, 0/2. Tap at a green, put a -1/-1 counter on this creature, untap it, just a good dork. Up next we have Glissa, Sunslayer, Hapatra, Vizier of Poisons, and Champions of the Perfect. Glissa, Sunslayer, 1 and a Golgari for a 3/3 Phyrexian Zombie Elf, First Strike, Death Touch. What a nice little bundle of keywords. Whenever Glissa, Sunslayer deals combat damage to a player, choose 1, draw a card and lose a life, destroy target enchantment, or remove up to 3 counters from target permanent. Draw a card, lose a life, perfect. Card draw, destroy target enchantment, perfect. Removal, stupidistic studies. Remove up to 3 counters from a target permanent. I guess you get a little political, or, you know, something, I guess. I don't know. Maybe some blight happened to you or something. I don't know. It's just good. It's a good card. Good card. Hapatra, Vizier of Poisons, Golgari for a 2/2 human cleric. Whenever Hapatra deals combat damage to a player, you may put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. I normally wouldn't attack with Hapatra, really, ever, but if you get a free swing in, I guess, you know, go right ahead. Whenever you put 1 or more 1/1 counter or -1/-1 counters on a creature, create a 1/1 green snake creature token with Death Touch. Now this is not going to trigger from the blight because the opponents are putting the counters on, so it does not trigger Hapatra. However, when you proliferate with your commander, that will trigger Hapatra, and at the very, you know, least, if you have just blighted, you're going to at least get 3, you know, snaky snake boys with Death Touch, and there's some combo potential here that we will get to later. Champions of the Perfect, 3 and a green for a 6/6 Elf Warrior, new from Lorwyn Eclipsed. As an additional cost to cast a spell, behold an elf and exile it. You're going to exile an elf you control or an elf from your hand. Whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. This is great, just like a Beast Whisperer, but better. When this creature leaves the battlefield, return the exiled card to its owner's hand. And when I say better, I mean that it's bigger. Better. Then up next we have Selfless Safe-Right, Elvish Archdruid, and Lathril, Blade of the Elves. Selfless Safe-Right, new from Lorwyn Eclipsed, 3 and 2 green for a 4/2. Elf Warrior has Flash and Convoke, which means that our creatures can help cast this spell. Each creature we tap while casting the spells pays for 1 colorless or 1 mana of the creature's color, which in this case is green. When this creature enters, choose a creature type. Other permanents you control of that type can hexproof and indestructible until end of turn, which is great for us. This is a heroic intervention on an elf, which is beautiful. Some redundancy and protection because we're gonna need it. Elvish Archdruid, 1 and 2 green for a 2/2 Elf Druid. Other creatures you control get +1/+1, well, elf creatures that is. Tap, add a green for each elf you control, one of our good dorks with our combo potential thrown in on this one as well. Lathril, Blade of the Elves, 2 and a Golgari for a 2/3 Elf Noble with Menace. Whenever Lathril deals combat damage to a player, create that many 1/1 green Elf Warrior creature tokens. Tap 10 untapped elves you control. Each opponent loses 10 life and you gain 10 life. This is kind of like, you know, Secret Commander-ish tech. We will also win with Lathril and make a bunch of tokens with Lathril and get a bunch of blight from Lathril. There's a whole bunch of good stuff coming from Lathril, and of course she needs to be in here as the OG Golgari Elf Commander. Up next we have Llanowar Elves, Dionys, Elvish Archdruid, and Leaf Crown Visionary. Llanowar Elves, 1 green for 1/1, taps for green. It's a dork, you know why they're here. Dionys, Elvish Archdruid, 3 and a green for a 3/3 legendary creature Elf Druid. Elves you control have, whenever this creature becomes tapped during your turn, untap it and put a +1/+1 counter on it. This ability triggers only once each turn. This is delicious. This is great. We absolutely love this, being able to tap our elves and untap them. We tap our big ones down for a big pile of mana, and then they come right back and we tap them again. It's just great. We love it. We'll get in some more combo potential with this in the combo section. Leaf Crown Visionary, 2 green for a 1/1 Elf Druid. Other elves you control get +1/+1. Whenever you cast an elf spell, you may pay a green. If you do, draw a card. It's one of our card draw engines right here. You may think to yourself, boy, when am I going to want to spend an extra mana for every creature spell I cast? Basically just, you know, tagging on an extra, you know, 1 green kicker to draw a card every time, but you will have tons of spare mana with this deck, so you'll be paying into this pretty much every single time. Up next we have Wolverine Riders, Merowyn the Nurturer, and Poison Tip Archer. Wolverine Riders, boy oh what a card. 4 and 2 green for a 4/4 Elf Warrior. At the beginning of each upkeep, yes you heard each, not just yours, create a 1/1 green Elf Warrior creature token. Whenever another elf enters the battlefield under your control, you gain life equal to its toughness. This is a heck of a card, bomb of a card, as you can tell by its super risen price over the last, few weeks. Merwin the Nurturer, 2 and a green for a 1/1 legendary creature elf druid. Whenever another elf enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on Merwin the Nurturer. Tap at an amount of green equal to Merlin's power. So this is another one of those elves that we make a bunch of mana with. Gets real big too, and combo potential with this one. And then a Poison Tip Archer, 2 and a Golgari for a 2/3 Elf Archer. Reach Death Touch whenever another creature dies. Each opponent loses 1 life. This is the only good thing we have against flyers in the deck, but it's also in the deck because number 1, it's good against flyers. Number 2, it's an elf. Number 3, it's got really good combo potential for a couple of the combos that we have going on. So we threw that sucker in there. Up next, we have Elvish Warmaster, Roaming Throne, and Lysalana Huntmaster. Elvish Warmaster, 1 and a green for a 2/2 Elf Warrior. Whenever one or more other elves, enter the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 green Elf Warrior creature token. This ability triggers only once each turn. Wish it triggered more. 5 and 2 green elves you control get +2/+2 and gain Death Touch until end of turn. So this one makes us elf boys whenever we play elves. Whenever elves enter even tokens. So if we got, the dude out, the what was it, the big boy, the Wolverine Riders, yeah, that one, the Wolverine Riders. We got the Wolverine Riders out, making us elves at the beginning of everybody's upkeep. We keep making more elves with the War Master once per turn, and then this is another, huge mana sink into giving our stuff, +2/+2 and Death Touch. Unfortunately, not another one with trample, but just a big buff is nice. Death Touch is nice. We get to Roaming Throne, 4 colorless for a 4/4. As Roaming Throne enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Elf obviously becomes an elf, and then all of our triggered abilities get doubled up, which is really nice. Every deck that is has triggered abilities needs Roaming Throne, especially if you're doing like a tribal deck and a lot of it is triggered instead of activated. You want a Roaming Throne. And Lysalana Huntmaster, 2 and 2 green for a 3/3 Elf Warrior. Whenever you play an elf spell, you may put a 1/1 green Elf Warrior creature token into play. So kind of like the better-ish version of Elvish Warmaster. It's a little bit more expensive to warrant that. Doesn't, of course, have the mana sink on it, but still pretty good for making all them elf tokens. Up next, we have Elvish Harbinger, Gladrian Brigade, and Disciple of Freyles. Elvish Harbinger, 2 and a green for a 1/2 Elf Druid. When it ETBs, search your library for an elf card, reveal it, and shuffle, and put that card on top. Also taps for 1 mana of any color. Really nice dork with a tutor effect. Gladrian Brigade, 2 and a green with a 2/2 Elf Soldier with Squad for 1 and a green. So as additional cost to cast this spell, you may pay 1 and a green any number of times. When this creature ETBs, create that many tokens that are copies of it. And it reads, other elves you control get +1/+1. So it's a lord that you can make a bunch of copies of, and you can dump a whole bunch of mana into this to make your board absolutely gigantic. And then Disciple of Freyles, 3 and 3 green for a 3/3. When it ETBs, sacrifice another creature. If you do, you gain X life and draw X cards, where X is that creature's power. It's optional, but I mean, what other reason would you have to play it? Otherwise, just the vanilla 3/3. However, it is a land on the backside that can come in untapped if you pay 3 life. So we run it as an MDFC, for the land and for the elf trigger and for the card draw and life gain if we need to sack one of our huge, gigantic, dorks that we've put a bunch of counters on. Up next, we have Priest of Titania, Wirewood Symbiote, and Fjordhorn Elves, if that's how you pronounce that. Priest of Titania, 1 and a green for a 1/1. Tap, add green for each elf on the battlefield, so not just your own. It will count your opponents if they have like shapeshifters or anything else like that. Just remember that. We got a lot of shapeshifters in Lorwyn Eclipse. This is just another one of our big mana tapper dorkers here. Wirewood Symbiote, 1 green for a 1/1 insect. I know. Hold on with me here. Return an elf you control to its owner's hand. Untap target creature. Activate only once each turn. So the return an elf that we control to its owner's hand is the cost. So they can't really do anything about you returning an elf. So if you need to protect your commander or any of your other important pieces that is, like targeted removal or before a big board wipe, you can, but you can also use it to if you don't need to, you need to untap like Priest of Titania. We can do that with returning an elf token or whatever we need to do. So it doubles down. You can use it as protection to return whatever's being targeted to your hand or to save your most important elf before a board wipe, or you can use it to get double taps of Priest of Titania. It's really great, and you can only do it once per turn, but it's really good to have it up all the time on opponents' turns. You could tap down, Priest, return a token, tap it down again, and then if you needed to, you spend all your mana, let's say, you want to people think you're tapped out, think your priest is tapped out, have them cast their big spell or whatever, and then untap your priest and then tap it and do your thing. Really nice. And then, of course, Funehorn Elves, 1 green for 1/1, tap for green, another dork. Up next and lastly, we have Yoga Tree Speaker and Seedborn Muse. Yoga Tree Speaker, 1 green for a 1/1 to start with a level up for 1 and a green. So anytime at sorcery speed, you can level it up and put a level counter on this creature. So levels 1 through 4, it becomes a 2 green tap and dork. So it'll add 2 green to our mana pool when we tap it. It's 1/2. Once we get to level 5, gives all of our elves the ability to tap for 2 green, so really nice having that ability to give all of our elves, even the tokens and everything else, double green. And then lastly, Seedborn Muse, 3 and double green for a 2/4 creature spirit. Untap all permanents you control during each other player's untap step. Still a little iffy on whether we need to replace this with, like, you know, the what is that one card? I will get to it in honorable mentions, but just either more neg1 counter synergy or something like that. I haven't really figured out what a huge benefit Seedborn Muse is for this deck, because for like Dionys, we can only do it on our turn, where, you know, it only has the ability to, you know, repeatedly tap and untap on our turn and stuff like that. So we could just use it for big mana, but I don't know what we would sync it into yet. So this may or may not get cut. We'll update that later. For our 2 Planeswalkers, we have Vraska, Betrayal Sting, and Tyvar Kell. Vraska, Betrayal Sting, 4 colors and a black and a Phyrexian black for a 6 loyalty Planeswalker. Or if you pay with the 2 life, comes in with 4 loyalty. 0, you draw a card, lose 1 life, proliferate. Really good for us. Card draw and proliferation. Neg2, target creature becomes a treasure artifact with, you know, all the treasure stuff and loses all other card types and abilities. So really good removal to, like, not actually remove something, turn it into a treasure, and then they can do what they want with it. And then Neg9, if target player has fewer than 9 poison counters, they get a number of poison counters equal to the difference. With our commander proliferating, and, you know, the first proliferate, because you probably want to draw a card, you know, and proliferate very first time she comes down. However, you know, if you can proliferate with your commander few times, get this up to neg9, as soon as she comes out, just take somebody out of the game, you know, generically, because you just give them, everybody will be at 0, and then you just freaking select the most problem player, the most one that's biggest lead, or the one that's messed with you the most, and, you know, just take them out real quick, real nice. Tyvar Kell, 2 and 2 green for a 3 loyalty Planeswalker. Elves you control have tap for a black, really nice. +1, put a 1/1 counter up to 1 target elf, untap it against Death Touch till end turn, really good. Used another untapper, make her stuff bigger. 0, create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token, really good, making elf tokens. And then neg6, you get an emblem with whenever you cast an elf spell, it gains haste until end of turn and draw 2 cards. Really nice card draw on Tyvar. And for our 11 instants, we have Heroic Intervention, Vampiric Tutor, and Kindred Summons. Heroic Intervention, 1 and a green. Permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible within a turn. Duh. Vampiric Tutor, 1 black. Search your library for a card, then shuffle, put that card on top. You lose 2 life. Yeah. Kindred Summons, 5 and double green for an instant. Choose a creature type, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal X creatures of the chosen type, where X is the number of creatures you control of that type. Put those cards onto the battlefield and shuffle the rest of the revealed cards into your library. Story time. So I was playing a game, like turn 6. I had, you know, been swung at with an Ulamog and had to, you know, blow up 4 of my things with the Annihilator 4 trigger. So I blew up a bunch of lands. I had 2 big, you know, dorks on the field that tap for each elf I control. I had, like, you know, 4 elves. I had the land that untaps one of my elves. Okay, so I had the capacity to tap them all together 3 times. So I was top decking, by the way. Turn 5, I drew the, we'll get to it in the enchantment section, but the Springleaf Drum Parade, where you put X into it and it makes the shapeshifter tokens. I was able to put 12 into it, right? So I made 12 shapeshifter tokens. I blighted the board, you know, 12 times. Everybody had to do 12 neg1 counters split up amongst, you know, the creatures. And there's a life gain guy who had, like, every time a creature entered, he got a life, and then he had one of the cards that, like, every time you get a life, put a 1/1 counter on it. So he was just making his, like, really big angel that he had just, like, super bigger and bigger, and he didn't lose anything because he gained more counters than he lost, you know. Yeah, I was just making his board, like, super big, and he thought he had it because I was top decking, so he decided to kill one of the other players with, like, a 27 flyer, and it passed to my turn, and I top decked, no cards in hand, 12 shapeshifters on the board, and, like, a few other elves, so 16 elves total, including the 12 tokens, and I top deck a Kindred Summons. And he couldn't do anything about it. He couldn't counter it or anything else like that, so it resolved. and I pulled 16 elves, and one of them was Azuri Renegade Leader, and it was freaking great. Pumped a crap ton of mana, activated, you know, him like 16 times or something or other, and he tried to remove him, but I just kept activating him on top of, you know, the stack, and just, oh, it was so good. Ended up winning that game by the skin of my teeth from top decking a Kindred Summon. So if you have, you know, any more than like 5 elves on the board and you're able to cast this, it's freaking great. I love this card now. It's so good. Up next, we have Assassin's Trophy, Beast Within, and Tear Asunder. Just a nice little package of removal. Golgari for a destroy targeted permanent. Its controller searches our library for a basic land and puts it on the battlefield, then shuffles. Beast Within, 2 and a green for destroy target permanent. Its controller creates a 3/3 green beast creature token. And then Tear Asunder, 1 and a green for exile target artifact or enchantment. And then if we kick it for 1 and a black, we can exile target non-land permanent instead. So our, you know, this is our big removal, you know, deal package right here. It is mostly to deal with, you know, non-creatures, so artifacts and enchantments, planeswalkers, anything that, you know, is outside of creatures, because our commander usually takes care of most of the creatures for us. Up next, we have Elven Ambush, Galadriel Ambush, and Collective Resistance. I just now realized that they both had ambush in them. Elven Ambush, 3 and a green for an instant. Create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token for each elf we control, not for each token elf we control, but for each elf we control, we make a 1/1 elf warrior creature token. This is really good for getting in on somebody's instep right before your turn for blighting a whole bunch, or just like in response to a board wipe that's coming out. You know, if you want to, like, it's one-sided or something like that, you can make them take their creatures with yours. Galadriel Ambush, 3 and a green for an instant. Create X 1/1 green elf warrior creature tokens, where X is number of attacking creatures. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn by non-elf creatures. You know, someone swings at you with a big token board facing a lot of token decks these days. Somebody's going really wide. You can prevent all that damage, unless of course they're playing an elf deck, but you get a bunch of elves as well. Collective Resistance, 1 and a green for an instant that has choose 1 or more, destroy target artifact, destroy target enchantment, or target creature gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. It also has Escalate. We pay this cost for each mode chosen beyond the first. So if we decide to blow up an artifact, we can pay 2 green to do the other 2, or vice versa, or here other. It just hits, you know, target artifact or enchantment, what we're really worried about, because our commander takes care of mostly of creatures. And then it has protection, little heroic intervention light stapled onto it for just 1 target creature, so we can blow up some stuff and protect our creature at the same time. Up last, but certainly not least, we have Revitalizing Repast and Worldly Tutor. Revitalizing Repast, hybrid Golgari, so 1 green or 1 black for an instant. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature, gains indestructible until end of turn. Just a nice little protection light, make something just a little bit bigger. Start that proliferation train, and on the backside, it is a Golgari tap land if we need it. It's another MDFC. Worldly Tutor, 1 green for an instant. Search your library for a creature card and reveal the card to all players. Shuffle your library and put the revealed card back on top of it. You know why it's here. Need them specific good elves. For our 9 enchantments, we have Nest of Scarabs, Sylvan Library, and Springleaf Parade. Nest of Scarabs, 2 and a black for an enchantment. Whenever you put 1 or more -1/-1 counters on a creature, create that many 1/1 black insect creature tokens. Notably, this will not trigger off the Blight 1 thing again, but when we proliferate, we will get that many, you know, 1/1 black insect creature tokens. Sylvan Library, 1 and a green for an enchantment. At the beginning of your draw step, you may draw 2 additional cards. If you do, choose 2 cards in your hand drawn this turn. For each of those cards, pay 4 life or put the card on top of your library. Springleaf Parade, X and 2 green for an enchantment. When this enchantment enters, create X 1/1 colorless shapeshifter creature tokens with Changeling. They're every creature type. Creature tokens you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color. This is the card I was talking about earlier with the daggum Kindred Summons. It's great. You pay into this, and then if you hit a Kindred Summons after that, you're just golden. Up next, we have Bloatfly Infestation, Flourishing Defenses, and Doubling Season. Bloatfly Infestation, 2 and a black for an enchantment. Whenever a creature dies, if it had a -1/-1 counter on it, put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. Combo potential. Flourishing Defenses, 4 and a green for an enchantment. Whenever a -1/-1 counter is put on a creature, you may create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token. And you're thinking in your head, and everybody's been saying it and seeing it, and it came with a daggum Blight Curse Precon. This goes infinite with our commander. It's a 2-card, well, semi-infinite combo with our commander, because we have a commander out. Play this. You know, we need to play 1 elf or proliferate. Just basically put a -1/-1 counter. Something, somewhere, has to have a -1/-1 counter put on it, either by you or by your opponents. And when it happens, this triggers, makes you an elf. When the elf enters, your commander triggers. When your commander triggers, this triggers, and so on and so forth. It'll just go until it wipes out all of your opponent's creatures, and you will get that many elves equal to the global toughness number of your 3 opponents. Then, of course, doubling season, 4 and a green. Enchantment, if an effect would create 1 or more tokens under your control, it creates double those. If an effect would put one or more counters on a permanent you control, it puts twice that many. So this doesn't double the neg1 counters. However, you will be making a lot of tokens and a lot of +1/+1 counters, so this comes at a good rate for us. And last but not least, Guardian Project, 3 and a green for an enchantment. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, if it doesn't have the same name as another creature you control or a creature card in your graveyard, draw a card. Guaranteed with this deck at least, you know, every non-token elf you play, it's commander. You know, you're going to get that card draw. And now that I think about it, and now that we've gone through most of the card draw stuff, I think, you know, maybe the Beast Whisperer does need to go in for the Seedborn Muse. Not 100% sure. I would look at probably doing that myself, so probably look at doing that too. I just don't know if Seedborn Muse is going to be that useful, you know, and plus it drops us from a 4 to a 3 because we cut one of the game changers. For our 6 sorceries, we have For the Common Good, Kindred Dominance, and Black Sun Zenith. For the Common Good, XX in green. For sorcery, create X tokens that are copies of target token you control. Then tokens you control gain indestructible until your next turn. You gain 1 life for each token you control. This can have a low ceiling or a high ceiling. We can pump a bunch of mana from our dorks into it. You know, we only need the 1 token out to create a bunch of tokens from it, and then they gain indestructible, which is cool, and then we gain 1 life for each token we control. Is cool. Just another way to get, you know, if you only managed to get 1 token out and a bunch of your dorks out, you know, you can just pump a bunch of mana into it, make a huge board. Kindred Dominance, 5 and double black. For sorcery, choose a creature type, destroy all creatures that aren't the chosen type. You know, one-sided elf board wipe here. Black Sun Zenith, X into double black. Put X neg1 counters on each creature. Shuffle Black Sun Zenith into its owner's library. Just, you know, if we need it. If we need it. Up next we have Patriarch's Bidding, Bridgeworks, Battle and Triumph of the Hordes. Patriarch's Bidding, 3 and double black. Each player chooses a creature type. Each player returns all creature cards of the type chosen this way from the graveyard to the battlefield. Yes, I know there's a new one in Lorwyn that's like kind of one-sided. It's more expensive and has Convoke, and I like this one a lot more because it can be used in some sort of political way. Anybody else is playing any sort of like other tribal deck, you can be like, hey, you know, if, you know, me and you are cool, like if I return all your creatures, you know, from the graveyard, are we cool? Be like, yeah, and then you cast it and return all your elves, and they return all their whatever, and then they have to blight a crap ton of times because all the elves can make it into trigger your commander if she's out. You know, so you get a little bit political with it. That's why I like it. That's why I'm going to keep it instead of the new one. Bridgeworks Battle, 2 and a green. Target creature you control gets +2/+2 until end of turn. It fights up to 1 other target creature you don't control. On the other side, it's a green unique land that can come in untapped for 3 life. We run it over a forest just because it's got, you know, potential for removal on it. And then Triumph of the Horde, 2 and 2 green. Until end of turn, creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain trample and infect. Just a way to finish it off after you have a huge board of gigantic elves. For our 7 artifacts, we have Staff of Domination, Soul Ring, and Arcane Signet. Staff of Domination, 3 for an artifact, pay 1, untap staff. Pay 2, tap, gain 1 life. Pay 3, tap, untap target creature. Pay 4, tap target creature. Pay 5 and tap and draw a card. This is one of our big combo, you know, pieces with our big mana dorks that can tap for more than 3. Soul Ring, Obvi, Arcane Signet, Obvi, but we might cut might cut Arcane Signet, maybe. So a little bit more playtesting to be done. You know, we got enough mana dorks, so figure why not cut it. We'll see how it goes without it. But for right now, we're keeping it in and may cut it for one of the other honorable mentions that we're going to have at the end. Up next, we have the One Ring, Umbra Mantle, and Contagion Engine. The One Ring, 4 for, you know, the legendary artifact, indestructible. When it ETBs, if we cast it, we get protection from everything until our next turn. At the beginning of our upkeep, we lose 1 life for each burden counter on the One Ring. And tap, put a burden counter on it, then draw a card for each burden counter on it. You know, it has a little bit of protection on it, stapled to it a little bit here for us. And then we get the card draw, which is the most important thing that we need it for. Umbra Mantle, 3 for an artifact equipment, kind of an oldie. Equipped creature has pay 3, untap this creature. It gets +2/+2 until end of turn. The reverse arrow is the untap symbol. Equip 0, so this is another one of our, you know, infinite combo ways to make infinite mana with our dorks that tap for more than 3. Contagion Engine 6 for an artifact. When Contagion Engine enters the battlefield, put a -1/-1 counter on each creature target player controls, and then pay for, tap, proliferate, then proliferate again. Just some more -1/-1 counter proliferation synergy. And then lastly, we got the good old Lightning Greaves 2 for an artifact. Equipment. Equipped creature has haste and shroud. Equip 0. Protect our commander, or a really important elf, but mostly our commander, the most important elf of them all. And for our 31 lands, we have something a little bit different. You got some lands coming up on screen. These are going to be unique lands. Obviously, you're going to run some basics. You know, we've got, I think, 5 forests, 6 swamps. You can check the deck list. I'll have it posted for the Moxfield link in the description below. But some of the unique ones I just wanted to mention: Invengo Walking Haven, station it to become a Gaia's Cradle. Wirewood Lodge is, you know, pay green on tap target elf. Cavern of Souls, Uncounterable Elves. Giltleaf Palace, you know, it's just a Golgari land that comes in untapped if you reveal an elf, which is good. You have a Maya who's everybody forest, so your forest walking elves get through. Winding Canyon, which is a nice one where you can pay 2 into it and then tap it and cast creature spells so they have Flashland a turn. And then, of course, Rogue's Passage, get maybe one of our big elves through an opponent's board that we can't really, you know, get around any other way. But you mostly want to run, you know, we got the basics, and then you got the classic 5 colors like the Command Tower and the Exotic Orchard potentially, and Path of Ancestry, and then you've got all the untapped possibilities for Golgari lands. So you could have any of them that tap for, you know, a green or a black, you know, on the same card, come in untapped with some, you know, stipulations, and of course, you know, the fetch and the shock that goes along with that. You'll see those in the deck list. I'm not going to put all the lands here, but these are just the unique ones that I wanted to mention. For our 12 combos, we have, I know 12 sounds like a lot, but it's mostly just, you know, individuals of these. So we have 4 elves in the deck that can tap, you know, for a ton of mana, and then we have Staff of Domination and Umber Mantle also in the deck. So the combos, most of them just sit right here within these 6 cards that you're seeing, like Titanian Staff, Nurturing Staff, Artruding Staff, Dreams Rooted Staff, and then subsequently with Umber Mantle. So for the staff combo, we need one of these that can tap for at least 5 green. So we, for example, we tap Titania for 5 green. We pay 3, having 2 left over to untap Titania with this ability. The untap target creature, pay 3. And then we add 5 more, pay 1 into untap staff. You know, pay 3 to untap Priest of Titania. We get infinite green mana. And then once we have infinite green mana, we can activate the other abilities, so we can gain infinite life. We can tap infinite creatures, and we can draw our whole deck if you want to, and that works with any of these and staff as long as they can tap for 5. Umber Mantle is a little less. So Umber Mantle is at least 4 because it has the untap for 3 on it. So we got Titania that taps for 4. We've got Umber Mantle out. We've got Umber Mantle equipped to Priest of Titania. Tap Priest of Titania for 4. Pay 3, untap it. Tap it for 4. Pay 3. You know, we net 1 each time, so we got infinite green mana, and it will also make Priest of Titania infinitely big as many times as we want to do it. Not too complicated, and that's what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of the combos are right here. So not a whole lot, just a lot of different ways to make infinite mana, and to, you know, at least with staff, gain infinite life, tap down infinite creatures, and draw infinite cards. Up next, we have Bloodfly Infestation, Nest of Scarabs, Flourishing Defenses, Hapatra, Vizier of Poisons, and Poison-Tipped Archer. So let's start with Bloodfly Infestation. You know, whenever a creature dies, if it had a -1/-1 counter on it, put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. Bloodfly Infestation, whenever you put 1 or more -1/-1 counters on a creature, create that many 1/1 black insect creature tokens. We will only be, you know, we're not going to be putting on bulk. We're just going to be putting on 1 at a time. All the triggers will be separate. And then Flourishing Defenses, whenever a -1/-1 counter is put on a creature, you may create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token. And then, of course, Hapatra, the first one, we don't care about the combat damage, but whenever we put a -1/-1 counter on a creature, we make a snake. And then the Poison-Tipped Archer pings whenever a creature dies. So let's start with Bloodfly Infestation and Hapatra. You know, if we have them both out, whenever we put a -1/-1 counter on something and Bloodfly Infestation is out and it dies, we will make, you know, a snake. So we proliferate, you know, we kill something, we make a snake, and Bloodfly. So we kill something that has a 1/1 counter on it, right, from our commander, and we proliferate and it dies. Right, so we'll get a Bloodfly Infestation trigger and Hapatra Vizier of Poisons trigger. We resolve Hapatra first, making the 1/1 snake. Resolve Bloodfly Infestation, putting a -1/-1 counter on the snake. Snake will die due to state-based actions of having 0 toughness. Hapatra, Bloatfly Infestation trigger. Resolve Hapatra first. Put a snake, put a counter on it, put a snake, put a counter on it, put a snake, put a counter on it. So infinite death triggers, and Poison Chip Archer will kill everybody. Nest of Scarabs is pretty similar with Bloatfly Infestation. You just need Bloatfly Infestation and Nest of Scarabs, and it does the same thing. It's just making you the insects, do the same thing. We proliferate or put a -1 counter on through some other way. Or it's just blight. No, it's not blight. It's whenever you put, so whenever we put, so we have to proliferate, right? And then we'll make an insect, put the -1 counter from Bloatfly Infestation on the insect if we can get it to die. And then, insect, -1 counter, insect, -1 counter, insect, -1 counter, Poison Tip Archer pings the whole table. Flourishing Defenses is the same way, but it can work off of blight with Bloatfly Infestation. We'll just make a bunch of elves and put the counters on them and drain the whole table for that as well. And that's pretty much that for that section. Yeah, that's pretty much it for that section. If I missed anything, let me know. I kind of ran through that one quick. And lastly, to round it out, we have High Perfect Morcant and Flourishing Defenses. This is the one everybody's been talking about. One-sided board wipe for you, make a bunch of tokens. It's freaking great. 2-card combo with our commander. Don't we love it? So whenever an elf enters, each opponent blights 1. And Flourishing Defenses, whenever a -1 counter is put on a creature, you may create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token. This came in the Blight Curse Precon. It's pretty freaking sick to get a reprint of that in there, which is freaking just awesome. But this one is different, as we mentioned in the last group of combos, from what was it, Nest of Scarabs and Hapatra. They read whenever you put, so the Blight one doesn't work with those. Proliferate works with those. However, this works with Blight, so it's freaking great. So we get both of these down, and we play an elf, or we get the Flourishing Defenses down first, and we play our commander, and we get an elf for each opponent, because they're going to put a 1/1 counter on one of their things, as long as they have creatures, that is. But they won't after this. And then this is going to trigger for each of those, making us, 3, 2, 1 elves. Then our commander's going to trigger, and it's going to make us elves. And our commander's going to trigger, make us elves. So we will, as mentioned before, we will wipe the entire board of all creatures besides our own, of course. That's where the one-sided board wipe comes in. And then we will make elves equal to the global toughness of all the creatures that were taken out, which is really freaking nice. You'll just kill all their stuff and then make a giant board from killing all their stuff. We love it. Then for our honorable mentions, we have Necroskitter, Evolution Sage, and Beast Whisperer. These are cards that, maybe potentially might go into the deck that we're looking at, putting in, that were either in at one time and got cut, or we're thinking about adding back in, or just wanted to add in. I talked about the Seedborn for the Beast Whisperer earlier, so you guys let me know what you think about these, coming into the deck. Necroskitter, 1 and double black for a 1/4 Wither. Whenever a creature an opponent controls with a -1 counter on it dies, you may return that card to the battlefield under your control. So we'll steal creatures. I thought it was, it goes along with a -1 counter synergy. I just thought, my commander on top of stealing all of everybody's crap would make me a huge target real quick. So I decided to leave it out, but, maybe. Evolution Sage, 2 and a green for a 3/2. It has landfall. Whenever land you control enters, proliferate. It was one of those things where I was like, well, I don't know if I'm going to get a whole lot of value, for it over like a dork or like a pumper or something like that, or a token maker. So we left that out. However, we might put it back in because it helps make tokens with like Hapatra and Nest of Scarabs more, reliably. And of course the Beast Whisperer for the card draw. So you guys let me know what you think about maybe including them. Are you going to include them in yours? Oh, there's also one more. I completely forgot about it until just now. It's a black enchantment for 1 and a black. You've probably seen it, maybe, called Crumbling Ashes. It at the beginning of your upkeep, you pick target creature with a -1 counter on it and destroy it. So just at the beginning of your upkeep, on every one of your upkeeps and only your upkeep, you get to pick a creature with a -1 counter on it and just flat out destroy it. It's a really powerful card, don't get me wrong. However, I feel like just like Necroskitter, it would make me way big of a target way too fast. So I decided to leave it out. And that's going to do it for our High Perfect Morcant Elf Ball Tribal. If you made it this far, you're an OG. We thank you for your time and your support. please join the Discord. Come on down to the Discord. I have the link down in the description down there. Please come on down, jam some games Commander. I'll be in there. Got a couple of personal buddies that are already in there. Got some small number of people. Let's grow, build a community. Got spell table lobbies, got voice lobbies in there. Let's do it. Let's get some Commander games in. Let's talk. Join our community, please. Like, subscribe, you know, all the YouTube crap and stuff like that. Just thank you guys. Have a good one. And until next time,